Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped, and welcome back to the MIRA test facility. Now, I was here in August of last year with Michelin doing some tyre testing, and the premise of the video I made was if you buy new tyres for your car, do you put them on the rear axle or the front axle? Now, in the comments to that video were lots and lots of questions. So I've had a chat with Michelin, and we've come back to MIRA to answer those questions to do more tests. Sadly, we can't use this very cool mini JCW, but we do have some cars especially set up just for us. Exclusive use today. We're going to head over there. This should be an interesting video. So what exactly did we do last August? Well, the tests we did were all about replacing new tyres. First up, the recommendation would be to always replace new tyres in pairs. And if you are going to do that, to place the new tyres on the rear axle of the car, irrespective of whether it's a rear-wheel drive car or a front-wheel drive car. And we then went on to the handling circuit there. It's a big, round, low traction surface, and demonstrated the effect on the car if you did that. Now, if you haven't watched that video already, I'll put a link in the description of this video. Head over and watch that first, because I'm not going to repeat the tests that we did in August. But the basic findings were, if the new tyres were on the rear of the car, the worst you got really was understeer. The car would push into understeer, which is a safe and predictable thing. If you put the new tyres on the front of the car, then you'd have really good grip until you didn't. And what you'd find is the rear of the car started to unsettle itself, and you get lift off, oversteer, which is more unpredictable and not as safe. And that's all well and good. We also talked about if you were to just change one tyre, and what that did was make the car completely unpredictable and horrible to drive. But in the comments of that video, lots of people said, but what about if you're putting new tyres on the car, surely you want them on the front axle for braking performance, especially wet weather braking performance. And what I'm here today to prove is that the advice is still always put the new tyres on the rear. So what we're going to do is we're going to go and do some wet weather braking and wet weather handling, and we have 3 cars set up for us. The first car, this car, has worn tyres on the rear and new tyres on the front. The worn tyres are 2.6 millimetres in tread depth, and the new tyres will be around about 7 millimetres in tread depth. So this one, this should be, if your comments are correct, the one that brakes the best in wet weather conditions. The middle car, this car has new tyres on the rear axle and used tyres on the front axle. This is how it should be set up, if I'm right and those comments are wrong. And then the final car, this one, has new tyres all around. And this is the car we're going to go out in first to set a benchmark of performance. Now, we're going to be joined by Brian from Michelin, who is the guy, the expert. He's been tyre testing with Michelin for years and years and knows more about tyres than I will ever know. So let's head out onto MIRA. We're going to go in that direction over there and do some wet weather brake testing. Now the new tube. The gentleman sat to my left is Brian from Michelin. And we've talked about coming back and doing these tests for a while now, haven't we?
We have, and we picked a lovely day for it.
We have picked an absolutely lovely day. Yeah. So this is the reference car. This has brand new tyres all the way around. And then the other important thing to say is we've got all of the stability systems on.
Yes.
So the first thing we're going to do is a wet weather straight line brake.
Yeah.
40 miles an hour?
Yeah, from 40 down to 0.
Good.
That's right.
So lots and lots of comments about, oh, new tyres need to be on the front for wet weather braking. So we wanted to come back and demonstrate that that isn't necessarily the case. Right. So what we've done, up ahead, we've got a set of cones. I'm going to drive the car up to 40 miles an hour.
About 44, just so that we're above the 40.
And then at 44, I'm going to And we have a V-box that's going to tell us some braking data.
21.5.
21.5 meters. So that is our reference.
That's our reference on new tyres.
New tyres front and new tyres on the rear. So Brian's now going to quickly put a cone outside and hope that the sprinkler isn't going to spray him as he gets out the car.
I'll tell you what I'm going to try to do, because I'll see if Patrick likes it. I'm just going to put it just outside the door here, like that.
Yeah.
In line with that feature on there.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That's good. Yeah. So that you don't get soaking wet.
So I don't get soaked, because look at where you've stopped.
Right next to a sprinkler head. So let's go and see, because it's always good to do multiple tests. Let's try that again. About 44 miles an hour. Let's see if that was a good reference. A little bit short that one, I reckon, have I? Oh, there we go.
There, look.
A little bit shorter, so
20.3.
20.3. Now that's either a little bit of me maybe just striking the brake a little bit earlier.
Well, the system should rule that out, because you go in at 44, the performance box starts to capture at 40.
Yeah.
So it takes out any variance.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
There we go.
But the tyres, it's a cold day, the tyres will warm up. So it'll change that. If you do a third one, you'll decide whether that's happening or not. It's up to you. There's always a little bit of variance. So I suggest doing another.
Okay.
Just to see.
One more.
Yeah.
A bit fast there.
Shorter again, 20.1.
So all right, okay.
But we're now within 0.2 of a metre.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're pretty consistent.
Okay, we'll take that.
Yeah.
So I reckon that's our benchmark. I think the next thing we should do is go and get in the car that has new tyres on the rear and see how that fares.
See what difference is. Okay.
So we find ourselves in another Golf.
Another Golf, yeah.
Another Golf. This time we have new tyres on the rear axle, worn tyres on the front axle, 2.6 millimeters of tread. So this, if you are changing tyres, this would be the preferred way, where you've got the new tyres on the back. And when we went round the circle in August, what we found was that the grip was lost at the front first. So in the worst case, it would push into a bit of mild understeer.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of safe, predictable thing.
The car's self-regulating, isn't it?
Yeah. The way you described it to me, which I love, you said it was like the flights of a dart. So the kind of balance is at the back of the car. So hopefully we should have good balance, but the feedback I think was in wet weather, because you've got less tread pattern at the front, you might not get the same braking performance. So let's put that to the test. 44 miles an hour, just like we did last time. Stopped pretty quick, to be honest. Not that far back.
22.3.
22.3. Okay, so
versus our first
we were around
stop before.
Yeah.
It's 1.2.
Yeah.
But we were looking for consistency, weren't we? So
Yeah,
we've
yeah.
got to go and do it again.
Yeah.
Because the tyres warm up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's give that one a reverse. That's quite interesting. So we're expecting this to be a little bit longer braking distance. I won't say worse. It's still stopping the car.
It will be longer. There's still a response from the ABS. There's still a bite when you press the brake pedal.
Yeah.
It will be longer.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
What I would say is that last braking, the car felt super stable. It wasn't going anywhere. So we're up to a little bit quicker, 40. Now I'm brake much later then, so we'll have overshot the cone.
We've overshot the cone, but we're on 21.9.
21.9.
Yeah.
So that's okay.
So we're coming down just like we did before.
A little bit less.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So the beauty of this V-Box solution, just so you kind of, so that's measuring our braking distance. We've got the cones for a visual representation for the video,
Yep.
but I guess when you're doing your proper testing, modern technology like GPS and the sensors and so on, they provide you with the kind of data that...
It's so much more precise, but also for something like this, it takes out, you mentioned earlier, how hard you press the brake pedal.
Yeah.
Because what we actually want is that phase where the ABS is working and the systems have taken over.
Yeah.
That take our input out.
Yes.
And then we get a repeatable result.
Yes.
And the performance box helps us do that.
And I am smashing the brake pedal.
Oh yeah, yeah. I can feel that. Yeah. And we are 22.1. So we've gone a little bit longer that time.
Okay, so we're around 22 meters, let's say.
Yeah, so we're at 2, we were down to about 1.8. So yeah, around about 22 meters is where we're settling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless
Okay.
you want to do another one?
No, I reckon the
Happy with
next
that?
thing we should do
Okay.
is swap cars again,
Okay.
and this time new tyres on the front, worn tyres on the back.
Okay, let's try that.
Because according to lots of people in the comments, that's the way to go.
Yeah. Okay.
What could possibly go wrong?
What can possibly go wrong?
So we're now in another Golf.
Yes.
New tyres on the front this time, but we've averaged up the first 2 tests. So the average braking distance for the first test with new tyres all round was
20.6.
20.6 meters. The new tyres on the rear average was
22.1.
22.1, and that is a difference 1.4 meters.
Yeah, 1.4.
So that's our benchmark for this car.
1.46 it was, the difference.
So if you're watching, put in the comments what you think the braking performance of this could be. My gut feel says it's going to be a bit better than the new tyres at the rear, but not as good as new tyres all round. But, and there is a big but, I think it's going to feel a bit more sketchy.
It might do. It might do. We're at 40 miles an hour, aren't we?
Yeah.
So let's see how it goes.
See how it goes. Right, here we go. Up to 44 again. Actually, that didn't feel too bad. Scores on the doors.
20.5.
20.5. Oh.
Okay.
That's pretty good. Right, let's try that
Yeah.
again.
40 to 5. Yeah. Yeah.
Do another
Might be
one of
cleaning
those.
the track up, but yeah, pretty
Yeah.
good.
Okay. Run number 2. Oh, see, that felt quite good, that one.
20.6.
20.6. Oh,
Yep.
pretty much the same as the last one.
It is. 0.1 different.
And last run of the day. Oh,
Getting better. So I wonder if we're cleaning the track up, because that is a lot better, isn't it?
it is a lot better. So a bit like when you watch Formula 1, lap times get faster and faster, or any motorsport, as the track rubbers in. We're braking in exactly the same place, and we're effectively cleaning the track or putting rubber down on it, making it giving it more traction. So we're actually improving our braking performance the more we do.
0.2.
Now, the scores are in after a fascinating test. So, in summary, when we had new tyres all around, the braking distance from 40 miles an hour was 20.2 meters. When we put new tyres on the rear, that braking distance was 22.1 metres, and new tyres on the front, 20.5 metres. What does all of that mean? Well, the ultimate braking distance is if you have new tyres all the way around. Then only 0.3 of a metre different is if you have new tyres on the front. And then finally, 1.6 metres less than that is if you have new tyres on the rear. And you may well be thinking, well, aha, in that case, you're right, you have to put the new tyres on the front. And to some extent, you're right, the braking distance or braking performance is better, but when they're on the rear, the car is more stable, and that braking performance is still going to stop you in time. The next test, however, will prove my point, because what we're now going to do is just take these two cars, the car with new tyres on the rear and the car with new tyres on the front, and do some wet weather handling and some cornering and braking at the same time. And then you'll see why I'm still going with the fact you need to put your new tyres on the rear axle. So now we've got new tyres at the rear, used tyres on the front. So preempting what's going to happen, the worst I should have is a bit of understeer. And I can feel it pushing there straight away, right? Lots. Yeah. But nice and predictable. And I know that there will be, especially the kind of drivers watching this that like a bit of oversteer. Who doesn't like a bit of oversteer in a rear-wheel drive car when it's what you want to happen? So yeah, if I start to push on at all, you just start to push into understeer. The car feels super stable at the back, it's not moving around at all, but I've got no front end on the car at all. And this is just wet tarmac. This isn't a basalt.
It's wet tarmac.
Low tarmac thing, a low traction thing.
You're pressing on. I can tell you what level of lateral G you're operating at the moment. It's wet tarmac. The point is the car is self-limiting, isn't it? Yeah. It finds a point where it's happy and you're happy, and it takes you where you want to go. Yeah. And that, I mean, it's all coming out the front. I don't feel any instability at the back of the car at all. And I can push on around there quite happily, but I don't. 41, 42.
Now, let me just try a couple of things. And I know you should always kind of brake in a straight line and all that, but if I just do a little bit of lift off as I'm going round, if I'm on throttle and then lift off, brake, it's all very stable.
It looks after you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because the rear tyres have got that ability to keep the car going straight.
Even if I brake.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Point made.
That's the point.
Shall we jump into the car with the new tyres on the front and see what the difference is? So we now have what in braking, wet weather braking in a straight line performed pretty well.
Yes.
But that's only one element of driving a car. This is now a wet road. We've got new tyres on the front, worn tyres on the rear, and I'm now going to drive in a similar way to I did before and just gently feel the car in play, to be honest, because see it straight away. So I should have a pretty good front end.
Yes. Oh, it can turn in nicely, yeah.
Until I don't.
Yeah.
As soon as you brake hard or you lift off,
yep,
it just bites.
It starts when you lift off.
Yeah.
And then gets worse when you brake.
There you go. And I think...
And if you turn the wheel as well to try and avoid something, for example, that makes it worse too. Because as you said, it's got lots of bite at the front.
Oh, And the nasty thing, we sometimes talk about breakaway with tyres, don't we? And when it does break away, it doesn't let you know it's going, and then it just goes.
It's quite abrupt.
So
it's hard to get back.
I think the challenge I've got with that for a normal driver on a normal road is that when it happens, it's going to happen very quickly, and we've got nothing. You know, we aren't in a 2-lane single carriageway road here. We're in a. There's nothing coming the other way. There's no trucks coming the other way. If I break
You're
neck,
actually using all of them.
and I am using. I'm going apex to apex, aren't I? So you know, you're going around a. Oh, see, that's nasty. And I'm only doing, that was 25, 30 miles an hour just to demonstrate. So if you're, I don't know, you're doing 50 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour, down a, there we go, down a country road. Then that, yeah. Oh, it's horrible. It really is very horrible.
So if you imagine coming around that corner, for example, at that junction, something comes out of that junction towards you.
Yeah.
And your natural reaction is to come off the throttle and turn away from it.
Yeah.
Actually, what it does is put the rear of your car towards it.
So now I'm getting a bit more confident with how it's breaking away because it's doing it so often. Then I wouldn't say I can predict it, but the challenge is on the public road for me, when it happens, it's going to happen so quickly, like that. You could be in oncoming traffic. So on the open where it's got a bit of runoff, if I brake as I'm coming round,
yeah, that's just directly opposite.
Yeah, just over there. So
yeah,
I'm coming
so
here.
reaching the limit.
So like here.
Yeah,
oh, that's horrible.
So you move the car's width over.
Yeah.
The car slows down, and then eventually, because the systems are on, of course, we're running with the systems on, nothing's switched off.
Yeah.
Then eventually the system starts to, as the speed reduces, the systems start to take over and they help.
Yeah.
But that initial movement is quite significant.
See, I've just come back from 3 days ice driving in Finland, where the whole purpose of that was to get the car sideways and so on. First, you're in a rear-wheel drive car, but that's a whole element of driving that I really enjoy. But I enjoy it when I'm making it happen, and I know it's going to happen, and I can predict when it's going to happen. The problem with this, that's just on basic corner entry. I'm doing 40 miles an hour. Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, and it's unpredictable, isn't it?
Yes. So,
and the natural reaction actually exacerbates it, because your natural reaction, for example, to put the brake on, or your natural reaction to come off the throttle, turn in more, actually makes it worse, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, if you lift off, that happens.
Yeah.
So, just
but
there.
The other thing to bear in mind is that we've spent all afternoon building up to this point.
Yeah.
And we're concentrating. We're anticipating, we're actually finding it
I'm
again.
now trying to provoke it.
Now you're provoking it. But if this were to happen when you're not expecting it,
Yeah.
if you haven't been building up to it all afternoon or whatever, then that's the moment that can catch someone out, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, shall we go and conclude?
Yes.
Well, as the sun sets here at MIRA, what are my final conclusions? Well, another fascinating day testing here. Many of you had suggested that you should put got brand new tyres on the front axle of the car, and I think we've demonstrated in wet weather braking, actually the performance isn't too bad at stopping you, it's just the stability. But for me, it's when you get on a handling circuit and you really start pushing on, the unpredictability of having new tyres on the front and worn tyres on the rear is really quite unpleasant. When it's the other way round and you've got the new tyres at the back, the car just feels stable. Remember the flights on a dart and how that keeps the dart stable through flight. It feels the same when you're driving a car in the wet. It's predictable. The worst that's going to happen is a little bit of understeer. As soon as you start having the tyres on the rear being the ones with the less grip, the front end bite is really good, but when you turn in and the car does go, it goes quite quickly and quite unpredictably. And the more I drove around today, I started to play with it. I knew it was going to happen, but that's not real life. Real life is you're driving home from work, you're a bit tired, or you've got your other half in the car with the kids, and it's raining and they tip it into a corner and suddenly, bang, you've got some lift off oversteer, or something runs out in front of you and you brake while you're cornering and the back of the car goes, and it's very quick and very difficult to catch. I hope that helps, and the ability for me to come back here to MIRA and answer those questions is amazing, and I have to say a massive thank you to Brian and the team at Michelin for making this possible. We've had this facility to ourselves. They've set up these cars for me today to answer your questions, and I have to say a massive thank you to them. But I hope you enjoyed that. Please put in the comments below your thoughts after you've seen this video. Has that changed your mind about which axle you should put tyres on? Just a couple of things before we finish. On a four-wheel drive car, the advice is still to change all four tyres if possible, and that's due to trying to prevent wind-up in the four-wheel drive system. And then also, of course, this is assuming you've got symmetrical wheels. If you've got a staggered setup on a car with different size wheels, front and rear axle, clearly you can't do what we've done today. But hopefully that would have been reasonably common sense. But if you've enjoyed that film, please give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol Ped for plenty more content to come, and I'll see you on the next film. You take care, guys. Drive safe.